Hello, I'm Laia, this is Lucy, and today I want to share with you some language learning study tips. So these are just some tips that I have found helpful for myself and that I have been using throughout my time studying a language and that I have learned from and I want to share. Tip number 1 is make notes, and tip number 1.2 is have one notebook to make notes in. So make notes in only one notebook. Notebooks are really handy for referencing. So for example, if you are looking for a specific topic or you forgot something or you're looking for a grammar rule, you can just flip through your notebook and find where you wrote it and then reference it. So it's really helpful for referencing. I find that writing things down and making notes is so much more helpful than only relying on everything that's on your computer or your apps or your Google Doc, wherever it is. I find that having a physical notebook where you have written your notes with your own hand is really helpful. Not only in remembering, but like I already said, for referencing. Tip number 2, use color. So in your language learning notebook, use colors, use colored pencils or pens or highlighters. It really helps to highlight new words or maybe highlight specific grammar points that you are learning. So if you're writing a sentence and there's a new grammar structure in the sentence, you can highlight it. Or for example, new words, and it really helps to color coordinate. So all new words are in purple and all new grammar is in yellow, just as an example. You can also color coordinate the pens you're using. So a specific topic goes in a specific color or a specific grammar point goes in a specific color. You get the gist of what I'm saying. Use color, it really helps, especially for learning and remembering and making your studying and note-taking fun. Just spice things up a little. Tip number 3 is set a time. So set a study time where you know this is your time to study and you are now going to use this time to focus. And even if it's a short amount of time, like 10 or 15 minutes, you know that that is your time to focus on your language learning. You can also fit language learning into your daily life, and I made a whole video about fitting language learning into your daily life, which I will link. And during the study time, use resources that are fun for you, that you enjoy, and that you want to work with. I also made a video about my top 5 resource recommendations for learning Spanish for beginners, so I will link that one as well. There are some really good resources in there. Tip number 4, focus on one topic, grammar point, or task at a time. Don't try and multitask your language learning. Don't do a little bit from here, a little bit from here, a little bit from here. Obviously for some people that works and some people want to do that, but for me personally, I find that focusing on one specific task or grammar point or topic at a time is really helpful. That way you can ensure that you really understand it, you give it the time and the energy that it needs and deserves, and you really solidify the concept. Tip number 5 is make a weekly study plan. And I emphasize the word weekly. Not monthly, not quarterly, not yearly, weekly. I find that this is really helpful. And of course, it can be helpful to have 3-month plans, quarterly plans, or 6-month plans or 1-year plans. It can be helpful so that you can see where you want to be in the future. But weekly plans work really well because living in the present is kind of what we have to work with. So making a weekly plan for what you're going to do this week can ensure that you can stay on track with your goals, do what you want to do and set out to do, and you can change things if they need to be changed. So the reason setting monthly goals can be difficult is because sometimes life happens and a week goes by where you don't study and then you are behind. And then you feel bad about yourself and you have not then achieved your monthly goal, and that sets you back. So setting weekly goals is much easier because if life does happen and you can't get your studying done that week, you can just move it to the next week. Or, for example, if you set a certain number of tasks for a specific week, but you could only finish 90% of them, you can move the 10% that you have not finished to the next week and complete them in the next week. So basically, my point is that weekly goals are so much more adaptable and changeable and practical than longer term goals, although longer term goals do have their value as well. Tip number 6 is to order the tasks you are doing them. So hear me out. Decide on what order you will work on your tasks on. So I will use myself for an example. When I study, the first thing I always do is take notes from the lesson that I had with my teacher. So that way I can get the notes that happened during the lesson into my notebook where I can reference them and also make sure I understand them. And I can then have the notes for step number 2, which is my homework. So my teacher always gives me homework, and after taking my notes, I ensure that I finish my homework because I always want to finish my homework before the next lesson, because in the next lesson, we go over the homework. So that is obviously what I want to get done next. Then after I finish my homework, then I will do extra. So only then will I make time and space, if I can, for extra learning and extra things and my own resources and my own learning. So anything extra that I want to do outside of what I have done in my lesson. And if you are thinking about taking language lessons, I have made a video about the benefits of taking language lessons and why you should take language lessons. So I will link that one as well. The last tip I have is to make your environment your happy place. So make your study area a place where you want to be and a place that makes you happy. For me, language learning is something that makes me so happy, and my environment is a part of that. Having a desk where I like to sit at, that's appealing to me, where my little jars of pens are, that's neat. If something is neat, it is conducive to learning. So in terms of where to study, I do suggest a desk, but it is ultimately up to you. Everyone studies in a different way, and whatever works for you, you do that. But for me personally, I love working at a desk where all my stationery is, all my books are, my computer is. I know everything I need for a really good study session is right there. And like I said, make it your happy place. Make it somewhere you want to be. So if that is putting a plant or a jar of pens or a candle, then do that. Put it there, because who doesn't want a cute desk? I know I do. So that is all the tips I have for you today. I hope they were helpful, and I'm sure there are so many other study tips that you can think of or that you use that work for you. So if you have any study tips, do leave them in the comments so that I can read them and other people can read them. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Goodbye.